The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let me just say, after Vera distorting the belt to proclaim me the real world champion, I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's a Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And we, of course, as always, are powered up by Belly Up Sports. Check out our website, bellyupsports.com, for our complete list of all of our podcasts. We've got such an assortment of podcasters with great content, all the sports going on right now, the four majors, if you will. Then, of course, all the other ones, including PGA with the PGA Championship. Michael Block, wow, what a story as the club pro that stole the hearts of millions this weekend with his play throughout the whole tournament, including that amazing hole-in-one on number 15, and, of course, that up and down on 18 to make it in the top 15. He'll be going next year to the PGA Championship, getting sponsorship exemptions. He is definitely a tin cup type of story, so congratulations to him. And, of course, Brooks Koepka winning the PGA Championship. He now with his fifth major, and I will talk about that a little bit later on. Should he be now considered amongst the elite in the world of professional golf? Hey, we got a lot to talk about this morning. It's just going to be me today. You get my rants and ravings. I got plenty of both here this Monday morning, as we are May the 22nd, just 1 week before the unofficial start of summer with Memorial Day weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. I know I did. I want to thank everybody for joining us here. Again, we are sponsored by MahlerBros.com. If you want to look good, feel good, and then play good on the golf course, the best way you could do that is by checking out MahlerBros.com for their amazing selection of polos, t-shirts, you name it. Go to MahlerBros.com. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, if you do that, make sure you use the promo code BELLYUP, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That is MahlerBros.com. Had a great time this past weekend locally here up at Freeland for the Freeland Athletic Association's Millionaire Party. Got to be a guest celebrity card dealer, if you will, for Texas Hold'em. It was for a great cause, had an absolute blast, and I want to thank all the folks up there for letting me be a special part of that as well. Again, we are part of the Belly Up network of podcasts and also bellyupsports.com. Check out all our latest articles. We're talking about everything in the world of sports and beyond, including what we'll talk about here today. The NBA playoffs, the Boston Celtics, of course, they quit last night. Just an incredible display. I'm not going to take anything away from the Miami Heat. They deserve to be where they're at. They've punked Boston in these three games, and Boston deserves all what is thrown their way in as far as quitting on their fans with that absolutely embarrassing performance last night against the Miami Heat in Game 3. And again, I'm not going to take anything away from Miami. They deserved it. They deserve the win. They're punking them right now. And Eric Spoelstra, if he's not considered one of the best coaches in the NBA in the last 15 to 20 years, I don't know who is. So, hey, they've got Boston on the verge. The Lakers, they show up. They're getting punked by the Denver Nuggets right now, but in a different way. They're just getting out hustled. But they've been in these games, but they seem to run out of gas in the fourth quarter as the talent and the size and the mental game of Denver right now, just a little too much for the Los Angeles Lakers. But again, I will give the Lakers credit. At least they're showing up. And, the odds are in their favor tonight to win game 4, but as far as winning the series, no. I think you can start planning on a Denver and Miami championship series in the NBA. We're going to talk NHL with the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. How can you get any better than what's going on in the Stanley Cup playoffs? 4 games and 2 apiece in each of the Western and Eastern Conference finals, and 4 overtimes. Florida and Carolina, a 4 overtime game, and then of course the overtime game the other day, and then yesterday Vegas coming back in the last minute to tie it up, and then Chandler Stevenson went from the GOAT to the hero in that game right there, and he got the overtime goal a minute 12 into the extra session. Vegas is up 2-0, but all 4 games decided in extra hockey. And if you're a hockey fan, how can you not love what's going on in the Stanley Cup playoffs? So a lot to talk about there. And of course, the PGA Championship, as we mentioned, congratulations again to Michael Block with the showing that he put on. As he captured the hearts of everybody really in the golf world. But again, congratulations as well to Brooks Koepka. I don't know if it's a comeback story, but there was a couple of years ago, a lot of folks thought, and him included, that his best days may have been behind him. As sometimes the mental aspect of golf, obviously, will get to you. It happens to all of us. I don't care if you're a 30 handicap or a professional golfer. That's David Duval. And Brooks Koepka came back and he won convincingly. And now that's his 5th major. Whether you like him or not in the LIV Tour, he's got to be mentioned as one of the elite. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. But I wanted to start out this morning. Yeah, I know I'm a hockey guy. Football and hockey are, the 2 sports that I like the most. But, I grew up watching all 4 of them. I grew up as a baseball fan and played that the most and loved the NBA. Loved it back in the 70s and 80s. Even when the Pistons were bad in the 70s, I watched them. Bob Lanier was one of my favorite players growing up until the 80s. And then, of course, you had the bad boys and whatnot as Pistons fans. But, we grew up watching the Celtics, grew up watching the Lakers, Philadelphia, Denver, Milwaukee. Those were the teams back then. And, growing up in the 80s, watching the 70s and 80s, watching those players, one thing that they never did, they never quit. Boston quit last night. You can say what you want. That is such an overused cliche in sports. It just, where was that Celtic pride? I look at, as much as I couldn't stand Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, we grew up despising the Celtics. The bad boys, you can call them dirty, whatever you want. Philadelphia 76ers, they never quit. How many times was Detroit down against Boston? How many times were the Bulls down against the Pistons? The Lakers, even when the Lakers were getting thumped on by Detroit in 89, they were down 3 games. They didn't quit. You can say whatever you want about the players' mentality of the 70s and 80s and 90s. You could say maybe the basketball was a little more rough 40 and 50 years ago or 30 years ago. It was more of a thug style. You could say that. I get tired of hearing that from the people of today. Now, I know the players are quicker. They're stronger. They might be a little more talented, but they don't have the heart that the players had 40, 50 years ago. What Philadelphia and Boston have showed to me in these playoffs shows me that they don't have it up here. I think the money's part of it. I watched today and I see how James Harden is going to want, $210 million over 4 years. Jaylen Brown is eligible and potentially could get a max $290 million contract with the Celtics after what they showed last night. Are you kidding me? You wonder why people don't like the NBA. Now, I'm trying to give it as much of a chance as I can. I haven't watched it for a long time. It's a long season. A lot of times we don't watch the regular season. Kind of almost like college basketball. it's getting to the point now where you'd start to tune in February when it gets down to the nitty gritty to find out where your favorite team is going. Same with the other sports, with the NHL and MLB. But that was embarrassing last night. I didn't watch much of it. I watched the second half, tuned it in. I kind of wondered how Boston would handle it. I mean, I thought maybe they could go down and steal one in Miami, and they could still possibly do it tomorrow night. I doubt it, but they could possibly do it. But what we saw yesterday was an absolute embarrassment. I hear all this Celtic pride about the storied franchise, and it's just amazing to me how they quit in that third quarter. And I give Joe Mazzulla credit. He stood up there at the podium after the game. He answered the questions. He came out and said that he didn't have them prepared. Apparently, he didn't do a good enough job. Well, obviously, you don't want to hear that out of your coach. That begs the question right now is he going to be one of the first ones ever to get fired after losing in the conference finals? Because he's not doing himself any favors. The players tuned him out. I get it. Well, that's not on the players. Or I'm sorry, that's not on the coach. You're a professional athlete. Show some pride. That to me was an embarrassment last night. Why would I want to watch the NBA? Why would I want to watch it? That series is over. And, again, like I said, what team's going to show up? Now, my question is going into game 4 tomorrow night with Boston and Miami. Are they going to have any pride? Are they going to see that and see how they're getting raked over the coals and, this and that? And, made, again, people like me ripping on them. And the average fan tuning in that game last night, watching that's got to be thinking, why would I want to watch the NBA? Why would I want to waste my time? Especially with the weather getting nice now. Memorial Day weekend, you're going to have either, if there were a potential game 7 or game 6 in the NBA finals, why would I want to waste my time on that garbage after what we saw last night? I'm not going to. I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to waste my time. I might tune it in tomorrow night just to see a score. And if it's close, I might hang around. But that's only if there isn't anything better. And I'm going to tell you, the Stanley Cup playoffs will be on my TV, or the Tiger baseball game, if I'm going to be watching that, or whatever. And it's like I was telling my wife, she said last night, she said, I would like to have the TV to watch The Voice. And I'll tell you right now, I'd rather watch The Voice than I would to watch the NBA final, the NBA playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference. And that's a joke, man. That's horrible. And so I lost a lot of respect with the NBA players last night, especially not all of them are like that, but that's what's representing the NBA right now in the conference finals are teams like Boston who quit, and teams like LA who their backs are up against the wall. You got a guy like and I like LeBron. I like to tease. I don't know if he's better than Michael Jordan. You can argue that until the cows come home. But one thing that he didn't do, they didn't go in the locker room after the game, before the game was over. That's going to be what I want to look for. Should the Lakers lose tonight and get swept, are they going to be out there to shake hands? Or is that tired narrative going to be brought up? Because I'll tell you what, if they aren't, you want to see somebody go on blast, you watch me on Wednesday morning about that after all the grief Detroit's taken over the years, the bad boys for not shaking hands. Larry Bird never did, and he didn't get roasted like Isaiah and, Lambeer and all them did. So we'll see what happens. If we have to go down that road, we will. We talk about the Lakers. They got beat, obviously on Saturday night by Denver. It wasn't Jokic, Jamal Murray. Wow. 53 points in 3 quarters of play in between the end of game 2 and the start of game 3. And then they had their role players show up. They just show they're a little bit deeper than the Lakers, and the Lakers at least gave the effort for 4 quarters. Now they got outplayed in the fourth quarter again. That's 2 or 3 games that they should have won in this series. They could very easily be up 2-1 or maybe even 3-0 the other way, but they didn't. They can't finish it. They don't have the legs. And, they've had a remarkable run after starting out 2-10. looking like they may not even make the playoffs. I get it. But Denver's just putting it to them. They've got them up here right now. And they've got the strength. They've got the talent right now, the advantage. You can't blame this on AD. He's averaging 29 and 13. I thought he was a no-show maybe at the end of game 1, but he's come to play. It's just the role players. If you got to rely on Austin Reeves, I know he's good, but Denver's they're just a notch better. They're deeper. I think they're, I don't know if they're better coached, but they're quicker, and they're more talented, and it's showing right now. It's their time. And Los Angeles, they're not dead yet. I get it. Game 4 coming up tonight for the Lakers. Who's got a better chance to go into game 5, the Celtics or the Lakers? In all honesty, it's a toss-up. The Lakers have more heart. The Celtics are a more talented team than the Heat, but the Heat are punking them. And I think the Lakers are, getting punked by Denver, but I think the Lakers might have a better shot only because they're playing at home. We're going to see whose pride is going to show up more. Who's going to throw in the towel first? Is it going to be the Lakers or the Celtics? And it's amazing. Who would have thought you'd have seen this? The so-called storied franchises, that narrative, that tired narrative that we've got to hear all the time. The Celtics and the Lakers, the two storied franchises. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. Well, not so much Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West. The core 3 from 2009 that won a championship. Kobe Bryant. They're not going to be around for the finals. And I guarantee you the sun will rise the morning after that happens. I'm not going to miss it. It's not going to break my heart that we don't have the Lakers or the Celtics in because, neither one are going to the finals. Neither one are going to the finals. If they do, it'll be the first time ever anybody's come back from an 0-3 deficit in the NBA. I don't see it happening. So there you go. So then again, it begs the question, what do you do in Boston and LA? Are they going to offer those supermax contracts to Jaylen Brown for the Celtics? What are the Lakers going to do? I heard something this morning where they're already talking about maybe going after Kyrie Irving. As a person who's not the biggest Lakers fan, I hope the Lakers do get Kyrie Irving because then they won't get back to the finals. If LeBron really wants to engineer that, then I really got to wonder what the hell he's thinking. But again, who's got a better chance of getting to game 5? I'm going with the Lakers only because they're playing at home. And right now they show more heart. I think the Celtics are done for sure. And the Lakers, they're not too far behind them. So we got lots to talk about here. We've got the NHL playoffs we're going to talk about. And of course the PGA, and then a couple of guys that were larger than life. One that you know of, one that you may not know, passed away over the weekend or in the last few days. And we'll talk about that. But first we want to talk a little bit about our sponsor here on the show, MahlerBros.com. How many times have you been out golfing? And boy, I tell you what, it's getting hot. We're getting into that season where it's about 90 degrees and it's just, you're not playing the greatest. You probably hit a couple in the woods like me. You're just getting frustrated. You're walking down number 11 thinking, man, I got 7 holes left. I'm sweating, miserable. The sun's beating down. Got, just any kind of relief, taking my shirt off, whatever. That would scare the hell out of the other players, and you can't do that. But I've got something that just might be able to help you. Check out MahlerBros.com. They've got just an amazing a selection of golf shirts and polos that will make you look the greatest on the golf course. And what do I always say? When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. So, check out MahlerBros.com for their selection again of the polos. They've got some different kind of supply. They've got, if you want to look, if you like the loud look, the flowered look, whatever, you want to be seen 2-3 holes down the course, they've got that kind of selection for you. Or if you like me, a little more conservative, more of the solid color, they've got that as well. Sleek designs. They've got t-shirts, tumblers. mugs, you name it. But don't take my word for it. Go to maulerbros.com. You can see on the bottom of the screen. When you go there, use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off of your discount, or off of your purchase with the discount. So again, if you want to look good on the golf course, make sure you check out maulerbros.com. And like we say, if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. That's maulerbros.com. And make sure you use the promo code BELLYUP, all one word, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, for 15% off your purchase. That's maulerbros.com, our sponsor here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, here on YouTube, powered up by Belly Up Sports. Again, good morning, everybody. Monday, May the 22nd. Glad you could be with us here on the show, as a great weekend of sports, especially if you're a Stanley Cup fan like I am, playoffs, NHL fan. 4 games have been played in the conference finals, 2 on each side, Western Conference and Eastern Conference, and we got 4 overtimes. How can it get any better than that? Florida and Carolina started things off with a 4 overtime affair. And, again, Matthew Tkachuk, or Keith Tkachuk, I get them all mixed up, man. I'm still living in the past. Tkachuk and Bobrovsky putting on a show for Florida. And, again, they're kind of, in my opinion, if they were to win the Stanley Cup, I mean, neck and neck for the Conn Smythe. They're making their arguments right now for the Conn Smythe. But wow, are they putting on a show for Florida? And Bobrovsky, ever since Game 4 of that opening series against Boston, he's been just stellar in net. And he's the reason why, the main reason why, in my opinion, along with Tkachuk, that Florida's getting to where they've gone. Mentally now, Paul Maurice has got them believing. And it is so huge getting that confidence. And the big thing now, Florida is going to their barn now for games 3 and 4, up 2-0, 2 overtimes. And what's crazy is both these teams that have lost, Dallas and Carolina, especially Dallas, losing Game 2 the other night, or last night, or afternoon rather, after the lead, holding the lead for less than a minute to go, and then Marcia Schultz getting the tying goal. That was huge. I honestly thought Dallas outplayed Vegas in Game 2, but getting back to Florida and Carolina, there's not a whole lot more that Carolina can do. It's just, they haven't been able to solve Bobrovsky. He's playing well. Rod Brindamore's team, I know, obviously there's no quit in them. They'll go into Game 3 looking to steal one in Florida, then get, if they can win Game 3, gain a little bit of that momentum back, bounce their way, and it's going to be 2-1. You never know. Then they can, get that momentum. But, Miami obviously is the focal point of the sports world, the professional sports world here in the United States, if not North America, with Miami, the Heat, and the Florida Panthers on the verge right now. Florida with a big leg up, in Miami on the cusp of going to this NBA Finals. But I look for Carolina really to put out a full court effort, if you will, just go pull out all the stops. And again, if Florida can withstand the first 5 to 10 minutes in Game 3, look out. It's going to be another 1-goal game. And then if you're Vegas, like I said, Dallas, they're going back to their barn for Game 3 and Game 4. There's a couple of different ways you can look at it with Dallas. Is they didn't get a chance to steal one, but now they've got an opportunity to even it up on their home barn, on their home ice. Vegas, again, I thought they got outplayed yesterday, but it obviously doesn't matter. Vegas up now 2-0, winning that game last night. I was watching it back and forth with the golf tournament. Couldn't believe it when Marshall made that shot. Beautiful play. That's what you do. You get traffic in front of the net. And, boy, they didn't waste a lot of time in overtime. 1:12 with Chandler Stevenson getting the game winner, making up for those 2 slashing penalties he had earlier in the game. I put on there overcoming their own discipline issues. Dallas had them rattled. No doubt about it. You can say what you want. Dallas had the right game plan. It just, obviously, it's a 60-minute game, regulation time anyway. And Vegas has been able to get away with it. Obviously, in the previous series against Edmonton, with Pietrangelo losing his cool in Game 4. But they were able to overcome that, win Game 5 and Game 6 to get to the Western Conference Final. Chandler Stevenson with his issues, but again, I'm not taking anything away from his play. Good players overcome that. When they're given the opportunity to make amends, they sure do, especially with Chandler Stevenson doing it. And Aiden Hill, what can you say? Here's a guy who, as we talked last week previewing the finals, the conference finals, he stepped up. They had 5 goalies, did Vegas, that have played this year. And then you figure you got Jonathan Quick there for an emergency. But Aiden Hill, he's proved strong. He's played well, very well. Ottinger, again, for Dallas, he's playing tremendous as well. Dallas's offense, they got to kick it in now. Like I said, they've got an opportunity to get back into this one, win a couple of games at home. If they can win and get to 2-2 going back to Vegas, then it's a best of 3. Then you wonder who the pressure is going to be on. But first, before that, they've got to win tonight. I think the pressure tonight, or the next game tomorrow night, definitely square on the shoulders of Dallas. And the same thing with Vegas. If they can withstand the original rush of Dallas in the first 10 minutes, maybe the first period, they can hold their own there. Then they can get that momentum swing back, and then they can put the heat back on Dallas. But I think Dallas and Carolina, the pressure's squarely on them. You don't want to go down 3 games to none. Like we say, it's very, very difficult to win 4 out of 5. And that's the situation that both these teams are in right now, just like in the NBA playoffs. And who would have thought that all 4 conference finals would be sitting at 2-0 going into Game 3, the 2 in the NBA, now here 2 in the NHL. But the way that Boston is thoroughly getting outplayed going back to the NBA playoffs for a second, is just, that one is the most surprising. These 2 series in the NHL, neither team is getting thoroughly outplayed. It's been so even, but somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose 1-goal games. But this is, again, when I go back to, how better can it get than 4 overtime games? The 4 overtime affair in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final, each of the games going into overtime. What is on tap for tonight in the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 3? How late are we going to have to stay up to watch the final of that one? And so, wow, it's what we wanted. And I got to tell you, and again, we go back to our question, who's in a better situation, Florida or Vegas? I would only say that Florida is, only because they're going to home ice for Game 3 and Game 4. They could close it out on home ice. And I know Vegas has to go into hostile territory. That's the only reason I would give the edge to Florida. I see both series going back for Game 5, though. I really do believe that Carolina can win one of the 2 in Florida. And I think Dallas on home ice will win at least 1 to send it back to Vegas for Game 5. But boy, didn't we think that going into these series in the NBA playoffs as well? Although they're not done, but both LA and Boston in the NBA are definitely on life support. Not nearly the situation right now for Florida or for Vegas. So again, it's going to be exciting to watch Game 5 tonight with Florida and Carolina. And what are they going to do for an encore in these games? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing in Game 3 tonight for Florida, and for Vegas tomorrow night against Dallas. And of course, Game 4 tonight out in Los Angeles for the Lakers and for Denver. So, wow. Again, thanks everybody for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. You can watch. We invite you to download and listen to all of our podcasts as well. We're on Spotify, on Apple. Just check out the Belly Up Network, Belly Up and Friends, and you can see all of our podcasts right there. Captain Lou Extravaganza. We invite you to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch all of our broadcasts, all our archives. Our shows are archived there, including this one, which will be archived as soon as we're done. And, we again thank those of you that have, and also without you watching every week, we couldn't do this. And again, we also want to thank the folks at Belly Up for letting us be a part of their network. We're on still Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern time. The rehab's going good for me. I'm now able to put 75% weight on my foot. So going in for surgery about a little over a month ago for my Achilles and bone spurs and whatnot has enabled me to be here to do this 3 days a week right now, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday throughout the summer, at least through July. And then back when I go to my regular job, I'll be going back to my night 1 to 2 night a week show here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, 7 o'clock Eastern time. But that's further down the road. So we're going to be here in the mornings. And again, you can watch any of our shows whenever you want throughout the day here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And again, we will have this downloaded later on today on podcast form as well. You can listen to all of our shows that we have on Spotify and all the platforms that bring the podcast to you. So want to go to the PGA Championship, the second major this year. Obviously, John Rahm won the first one, the Masters. And it was, you had the participants from the Live Tour in there. And we also had them this past weekend. And again, I don't know if they were overshadowed, but what a better story. What a fun day on Sunday. You had the PGA Professional, the Club Pros. This is their year where you can get them involved and they can be a part of the tournament. I believe they had 20 this year. The number's down from what it used to be. I think it used to be 45. Now it's down to 20. Michael Block being one of them. He got paired up with Rory McIlroy. He was the story of the tournament, playing well. Is like he said in his postgame, his main objective was to be the top club pro to be able to stand on the green with the winner. And boy, did he ever. And wow, what a story. He came out and he got paired with Justin Rose yesterday, or I'm sorry, on round 3 on Saturday. And then yesterday in round 4, getting paired with Rory McIlroy, which how can you not be nervous being paired with either one of them? And, Rory, I got to give him credit. He made Michael Block feel pretty much as comfortable as you could. Love how he interacted with him throughout the round. And then, of course, Michael Block getting that hole-in-one on 15, captivated the golf world. And I know a lot of people in general that were the casual golf fans tuned in to see that. And Michael Block giving the average guy a little bit of hope. Not that you and I would ever be able to play on a golf tour, on a tour event, but to being about as close as he can be, he acts like the average guy. Not that the PGA pros don't, but they're in another stratosphere, playing for all those millions of dollars and their talent level that they have achieved. But Michael Block now kind of can relate more to the average guy. And what a great story for him. He ended up with a great up and down on 18 to make it a tie for 15th. So he qualified for next year's PGA Championship in 2024, and he's gotten some sponsor exemptions. He pocketed a cool $288,000 for that. And wow, what a great story. Kind of tin cup-ish, if you will. And he now will advance. And what about Brooks Koepka, though? Here's a guy that, he goes to the Live Tour. And you can say what you want about the Live Tour. I don't begrudge any of those guys. You've heard me talk about it here. I don't begrudge any of those guys for making the jump to the Live Tour. I think that the folks in the PGA Tour, I think hopefully they take notice of this. What really kind of bothers me a little bit about it, and I've talked about it. I listen to Jim Nantz. I think the world of Jim Nantz. He's done a lot of good with obviously throughout the years with his, being on the NFL, the NBA, or the Final Four with CBS, his coverage of the Masters. The one thing I don't like about it is, I get that he's a PGA Tour guy. There's no, you know where you stand with him. But boy, oh boy, given him the digs that he had all weekend towards the Live Tour. And of course he did it a little bit during the Masters, but this is what, for the Live Tour, you got to love when he does it. Is doing that is just giving the Live Tour a lot more play. And again, I loved it. I honestly was rooting for Brooks Koepka. Here's a guy that he started out hot. I know he's kind of a hothead and he's arrogant. I get it. But what I liked about it was, he came out and I don't know, there was just something about what I liked. I listened to a lot of the talking heads just really cutting down on these players for leaving. And, again, like Trevor Immelman and some of the other ones on the Golf Channel. And I think about it, and I know that they're sponsored by the PGA Network or PGA Tour, and I get all that. But now Brooks Koepka, he's at 5 majors. Does he belong in the company of the golf's elite? He played well from wire to wire this weekend. And I tell you, he came up clutch. I know he only ended up winning by 2 strokes, but he had a 4-stroke lead going into 18. And, there was a time when Brooks Koepka was struggling a little bit on the tour. And he thought about giving it up. His swing had left a little bit, mentally, but he worked on it, changed it. And now he's back. He's got that confidence level. 5 majors now. When do we start talking about him as amongst the elite golfers in the PGA or in golf in general in the history? I know he hasn't won a Masters and he hasn't won the British Open yet, but he's right there. He's got to be talked about in the company of them. So congratulations to Brooks Koepka and also to Michael Block. What a great story. It was fun to watch, and seeing that hole-in-one on 15 and then his reaction afterwards in the post-game interview, it just how humble he was. And, you can feel it, just the emotion, and it's great to see it. It was fun, and the crowd reaction to him. And, even the crowd reaction towards Brooks Koepka during the end, I know there was a lot of boos for him and for Bryson DeChambeau. And I get it. Some of it might be warranted, but, again, how many of those people that booed would, if they were offered the opportunity to pocket $100 and some million and play in a tour, wouldn't take it? That's the hypocritical part of the people that are dogging. And I know, and don't go with me with the blood money thing. I don't want to hear that. Because if you're going to go at me with the blood money from the Saudis, what about the NBA taking the blood money and the sweat money from the sweatshops in China? All the billions of dollars the NBA's taken. All the major sports. NFL, they take it. Pro soccer, same thing. Overseas with the other countries along with ours. They all take it. I don't want to hear the blood money argument anymore. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't fly with me. The NBA is just as guilty as the PGA Tour, so I don't want to hear that. Was there a right way and a wrong way to go about it? Possibly. But you know what? I don't begrudge these Live Tour guys for going over there. I'm sure they said the same thing about the players that jumped to the World Football League back in the 70s. And I know the Live Tour may not last. They may not last 5 years, but some changes will come out of it for the better for the PGA Tour, because I just think the PGA got a little full of themselves, and they're not above these players. The players help make the PGA. They'll survive it. But these players are still, you got to give them some credit. Give them their due. And I'm giving Brooks Koepka his due. And I just, I'm happy for him. I've been a fan of his. I just love this style of play. And, there you go. Well, we're going to wrap up the show here this morning. A couple of personalities passed away. Jim Brown on Friday passed away at the age of 89. I was too young. He had already retired right before I was born. But I've seen enough of highlights and heard the stories. My dad has told me stories of watching him. To me, I grew up with Barry Sanders, Billy Sims, Walter Payton, Eric Dickerson, Emmitt Smith, those players. Those were the best running backs that I've ever seen in my lifetime, bar none. Better than any that we've gotten today. I'm sorry. I just don't see any of the running backs that we have today that would compare to the running backs that I grew up watching in the 70s and 80s. I've seen enough film of Jim Brown. I've studied the game. I love the history of the game. To me, there has been nobody since. You can throw O.J. Simpson in there. Think of him as a person all you want. He was one of the greatest of all time, but he was not Jim Brown. Watch some of his old games. Go on YouTube. Watch some of the films of Jim Brown. as my dad used to say, he would be the last one out of the pile, but he always got up. He's one of the strongest runners, quickest, more agile athletes you'll ever see. And, and he was probably a better lacrosse player at Syracuse. And he was a legend in what he did off the field after he retired for the causes he believed in. I don't care if you agreed with his political views. He ripped on all the parties. People may think less of him because of his political views, whatever. But as far as an athlete, there was nobody better than him on the gridiron. Nobody. And I'll stack him up against anybody. And I'm not saying that because I'm older and I don't appreciate the players of today. I do. The players of today in the NFL, they're bigger and stronger and faster probably than when, obviously they are than when I grew up. But as far as strength and pure athletic ability, I don't know if anybody could ever surpass Jim Brown. And he was an icon. And he was larger than life. He made a lot of great movies. His political views, what he did for his causes. It has to be recognized. I don't think he gets enough credit. I don't think he got enough credit. But he was one heck of a ball player and larger than life on the field. And then in his later years, right up until the end, larger than life off the field. And he's going to be missed. And Jim Brown passed away at the age of 89. And then if you're a pro wrestling fan like I am, we lost I want to say our world. The professional wrestling world lost the giant in the superstar Billy Graham. He passed away at the age of 79. He was amazing back in the 70s. He was Ric Flair before Ric Flair. He was Hulk Hogan before Hulk Hogan. He was Jesse the Body before Jesse the Body. The Tower of the Power, the man of the hour. Often imitated, never duplicated. Just a couple of the things. I know the Captain Lou Albano, my namesake that I call myself after, he stole that line from him. Often imitated, never duplicated, Jack. Just some of the things. He was professional wrestling. He put the beginning of sports entertainment in the world of professional wrestling. There was nobody like the superstar, Billy Graham. Hulk Hogan could try to imitate him with the body. Ric Flair with the promos and the style. Dusty Rhodes, you name it. Jesse the Body Ventura. They all emulated the great superstar Billy Graham, and he passed away at the age of 79. So if you're a pro wrestling fan like I am, it was a sad day when he passed away. He had been sick for quite a while, but he's up in that big squared circle in the sky right now, him and Andre the Giant, and, having a couple of cold ones, I'm sure. And so our condolences to his family, along with the family and friends of Jim Brown as well. We talked about him passing away at the age of 89. Well, that's going to do it here on the show. We'll be back on Wednesday morning with some surprises, I'm sure. Will there be a Game 5 for the Celtics and the Heat? Will there be a Game 5 for the Lakers and the Nuggets? Will we have 2 Stanley Cup playoff matchups, conference final matchups at 3-0? Or will Carolina and Dallas be able to cut those leads to 2-1? We'll find out. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us here this morning. Enjoy the day, everybody. Get out there and smile and have fun today, will you? That's all what life is all about. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Good night, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on the Captain Lou Sports Network, powered up by Belly Up Sports. So long.